When will Social Security run out of money? I'm Matt Johnson, or as YouTube knows me, Matty J CPA. We'll see how long that lasts. Uh, Number one question I always get when I teach. So I teach Social Security classes all around the state of Colorado and Kansas. We've taught them in Utah. Number one question is, Matt, when is Social Security going to run out? Right? And it's not an irrational thought. It's a very, very logical question because we got a lot of problems. We got a lot of things we need to fix. We're going to dive into that today and talk about the things that have been discussed in Congress, about things that can be done, tweaks that need to be made. So let's get started. So Social Security started in 1935. It was a government program that was meant to help retirees right after the Great Depression. And basically it's been funded by two things all these years. Okay, it's been funded by payroll taxes as well as the Social Security Trust Fund. So your payroll taxes are those taxes that come out. You have if you're an employee, you have your gross amount in your check. You have a bunch of little things that come out. One of those things is Social Security. And your portion as an employee is 6.2%. Your employer actually also pays 6.2% on behalf of you. That makes up the entire amount of the Social Security payroll tax. Now, if you're lucky and you're self-employed, you get to pay both portions, right? Now, since 1935 up until about 2010, this was sufficient. Okay, this covered it. Payroll taxes would cover the Social Security benefit that was needed to be paid out in every given year. They also had some excess, so any excess would go in then to the Social Security Trust Fund. They became a lender essentially to the U.S. government in the way of buying U.S. treasuries, lending money to the government. Okay. Now, starting in 2010, what happened was those payroll taxes were no longer sufficient to cover the Social Security benefits that were required to pay out. So we had to start dipping into that Social Security Trust Fund and selling off the bonds to get to cash to be able to pay those Social Security benefits out. So that Social Security Trust Fund began to be depleted in 2010, and that's where we are now. So what funds Social Security now is a combination of payroll taxes and the Social Security Trust Fund. Now, what the government is saying, every year they release a report about kind of a snapshot where we are. What they are saying is that in the year 2034, if nothing else changes, the Social Security Trust Fund will be depleted. So right now we have $2.8 trillion remaining. That's projected to go to zero by the year 2034. And if that happens, if nothing else changes, then we will have to reduce benefits down to 77% of your benefits. So it's a reduction of 23%. 77% of your benefits would be paid out, they project, until about 2096. So that's the snapshot of where we're at. Now, do I think that's going to happen? No. Let's get into why. You know, I've had a number of people in my office who have told me they're getting ready to file for Social Security, trying to decide when to claim. And they tell me, you know, Matt, when I was your age, I didn't think there was any chance I was going to see any Social Security. So this is not a new thing. You know, the headlines we see, everything in the news, it's not like it's a new thing. There have been issues in the past. There have been changes in the past. The biggest of which was in 1983 under Reagan and Alan Greenspan. That's when they made Social Security taxable. So there have been a lot of changes in the past. In my opinion, the biggest reason why they're not going to allow Social Security to default in that 2034 is because it's a political issue, right? It's a political hot potato right now, and both sides try and cast blame on the other side and use it to score political points. But ultimately, when push comes to shove, 35% of baby boomers don't have anything outside of Social Security benefits. That's a massive number of voters. And baby boomers make up one of the largest voting blocks, and they actually turn out to vote. So defaulting on Social Security would be political suicide. I always tell people that I think the greater risk is that we continue to lose purchasing power with our Social Security benefits like we have been in the last couple decades, as opposed to defaulting. Because if you think about it, there are really only three options. Okay, option number one, we go as the government projects, right? And we in 2034 they default, and so now we can only pay out 77% of everybody's benefits. That's option one. Option two is, hey, we make some fixes. There's some different things that we can do, some levers we can pull to change that and make Social Security solvent again. Option number three is we just create a bunch more IOUs, right? Which we've been known to do before, and continue to deficit spend for as long as we can get away with it. Now, in my opinion, option two and three are much more probable. My favorite saying is there's no such thing as certainty, only probability, especially in this area. I believe option two and three are much more likely than defaulting and not paying out our Social Security. Now, could I be wrong? Yes. But I think the probabilities are that we're going to make some fixes. We might deficit spend, but we're not going to default on the Social Security. So, what are the fixes that we could even get into? Let's look. What can we as a country do to fix this solvency crisis? Well, there is an organization called the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget. And they have a website, they've created a tool that basically has a bunch of different policy changes that have been discussed in Congress, okay? And what each one of those, if you pulled it, if you made that change, what that would do, how much of our problem would it solve? And so there's this website, and we'll have the website below in the link. And basically you can come here and you can click through, and it gives a whole bunch of different options, a bunch of different changes. And so when I was perusing this, when I started looking at this, I thought, the most obvious one is changing the full retirement age, right? They've done that twice already. It started at 65, they phased in 66, they phased in 67. Likely that's a pretty easy fix that wouldn't upset too many people, as long as it didn't happen to the people who are taking Social Security right now, right? They phase it in generally. The problem, though, is if we do that, so this shows that it will solve 38% of the problem of the solvency issue over the next 75 years, but it doesn't do much if you look at this chart of when the trust fund is projected to go to zero. It doesn't do much in the near term, okay? So it only buys us, we can look at the summary here, it only buys us 1 year, okay? So we only get 1 extra year. So you start to learn pretty quickly that some serious changes, if we really want to fully fund Social Security in 2034 and beyond, we have to start making some pretty significant changes in the way of taxes, okay? And who pays into Social Security, how much. So a couple of examples is if we come in the revenues tab here. So let's say we kept the full retirement age, bumping it up to 69, but now let's say we subject all wages to payroll tax, because right now you only pay you only pay Social Security tax on the first 160,800 for 2024 of what you earn. Anything above that, you're not paying into Social Security. So if they got rid of that cap, or if they increased that cap, this lever is saying, hey, if we got rid of that cap, it would solve 59% of the issue. So let's go take a look at that. So overall, this would solve 97% of the shortfall, and this definitely buys us a lot of time. Now, whether or not that's a good thing, I'm not here to make policy judgments or anything like that, but these are kind of some things that you have to get into if we really want to make it solvent, right? If we're going to fund Social Security. So you can come and click in and check out these different options and just have a whole ton of fun checking this tool out. It is pretty cool. It's pretty cool that they built it out, and each thing you click, it will show you the effect on Social Security. So I'll link the site below, but have fun with it. Okay, so what are our takeaways with all of this? The first thing that I think is really important, because I have a lot of people that come to me and they say, might as well take it at 62 and get it while it's still there, right? Usually, so let's just play this out. Let's just say nothing changes, no laws, no rules are changed, and we just go about business as usual, and in 2034, they reduce our Social Security benefits. That usually doesn't change anything from our perspective, from a planning perspective, especially in the way of timing, like when are you going to take Social Security? Because it's not like Social Security just falls off a cliff and all of a sudden there's nothing. No, what would happen is it would reduce to the level of where the payroll taxes are in that given year. And that's what's estimated to be at 77% of what you see on your benefit. The second biggest takeaway, at least for me, especially as we click through those different buttons, those different levers, and notice that, hey, to solve the 2034 problem, we've really got to either hike taxes or change how much people pay into Social Security or whatnot. We have $34 trillion of debt, and that doesn't even count the off balance sheet items like entitlements like Social Security. So the gist of it is taxes are likely going to go up in the future. So I think it's really important to plan accordingly. There are a lot of things you can do, but come up with a plan as you go into retirement for planning to avoid taxes over the course of your retirement. That's it for me. Thank you for checking out this video, and we'll see you on the next one.